Hey everyone, it's Katie here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you the single page spread in the Dina Wakley journal. It's a really simple page and I hope that you all enjoy it. So the first things first is I've got my Dina Wakley colors out. I'm using Rosy, Sterling, Sage and Syrup. So the first thing I'm doing is putting a sheet of paper behind my page purely because I don't want those paints to run through to my other pages and I do want to keep them protected. So that first color I'm using there is called Rosy, and I've just taken one of my sponges and covered the entire back of it. I always do, the whole rule of thumb is work from your lightest colors moving to your darker colors. That second color that I used there is the Sterling, and you can see the more darker that I go with the colors, the more of the colors that I use. So that third color that I used over there was Sage, and this last color that I'm using is Syrup. After I'd put the syrup down, it looked to me as if there was too much, so I went back in with the Rosy and just kind of dulled it down a little bit because I didn't want it to be too syrupy, if you can call it that. So then I'm just taking my heat tool and making sure that's all dry. I know a lot of people just kind of work with their layers still wet, but I just like to keep my layers dry just so that it's easier for me. So the next thing that I'm doing is I'm grabbing one of my Prima stencils. It is the Book of Numbers stencil. It is on the barcode 968977. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking that with some of the Iced Spruce Distress Oxide, which is actually one of my favorite colors to use purely because it works well with pretty much anything. It is probably my best color choice. So what I'm doing with that, I'm just taking some of the Distress Oxide and one of the new Studio Light blending brushes and then just doing some of that all over the background just to create another layer. So the next thing, I'm going to do another stencil layer, and that I'm just taking one of the Crafters Workshop stencils. It's number 211S. And I'm just taking some Black Suit Distress Oxide and using the same Studio Light blending brush and just putting a little bit of that in the background just to get that extra layer. So then once again, just making sure that everything is dry before I move on to the next step. So the next thing I've taken is one of the Dina Wakley stamps. It's the Scribbled Text Elements MDR 52807, and I'm just taking one of the script stamps and just dabbing that over in the background. You would have noticed I wouldn't have put it on a stamp block because I don't want the full text. I just want little pieces to create that nice extra layer in the background, and I just used some black VersaFine ink for that. And then as you've seen, once again, just taking my heat tool, making sure that's all dry. So then I've taken another stencil. It is one of the Color Blast stencils and some of the mixed media paste using my palette knife, and just putting some in the top right and bottom left hand corner. I was going to add some color in this, but then I realized I actually like that bit of white because it just pops a bit and it worked with my page. I realized I didn't need that color. So then I'm just cleaning off my stencil before all of that paste dries on there and I can't get it off, and then going back onto my page with the heat tool and making sure that's all dry before the next step. The next thing I'm doing is taking some black acrylic paints and just watering that down just so I can create some splatters all over my background. You'll see I've taken one of the sheets of paper and moved that to the other side because I don't want black splatters all over that page, just in case I decide to do a lighter color page. This is one of my favorite things to do to create some more layer in there, and I just like the way that splatters look on a lot of my pages. So then once that's done, just making sure that that's all dry before I do the next step. So what I've done is I've taken one of the Dina Wakley stencils. It is the She Sees MDS 69256, and I really wanted to use this, and I thought that this black silver glamour paste would work really well, but as you can see I ended up wiping it off because I didn't like that color with my background. I almost wanted something that just had one color to it, but I still wanted to use the stencil. So it got me thinking, oh hang on, I have some graphite texture paste, which is one of my favorite texture pastes to use. It's pretty much like normal texture paste, but it just feels like it's filled with sand. So just taking some of that and the stencil and making sure that I get into every little nook and cranny pretty much in that stencil, just so that it's completely covered and I don't have a patchy face, because this was going to be something that the page revolved around. So you can see there it looks quite light, but when it's completely dry it becomes more black and it stands out more. And I didn't want it to completely stand out, so you can see here in the end you can see it a lot, but it's not right in your face, which is what I wanted for this page. So yeah, that was it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have fun, and yeah, thanks for watching.